To start things off, there's a YouTuber named Kennie JD. She's also known as Kendall, and she made a really awesome video addressing the issue of mental health, mental illness within South Korea, and suicide in South Korea. Um, and I did watch it prior to this video to help aid in my research and to help further my research. She's an amazing YouTuber, and a lot of the points that she hits in her video is actually what I address in my video as well. Um, Secondly, this was never meant to be the first video on this channel. I wanted to do something a little bit more fun, but I couldn't really hold off any longer, and I had to make this as soon as I had all the information and as soon as my mental space was in the right mind frame in order to tackle this issue, because I was deeply affected by this and I still am right now. So, for those that don't know, uh, a star was lost quite recently. Kim Jong Hyun, he was a member of the group Shiny. May his soul be at peace right now. Um, like I said, he was a member of Shiny. He was a South Korean K-pop star. He was a producer. He was a songwriter. He was our bling bling Jonghyun. Jonghyun. I was a fan of Shiny, and I always did gravitate towards him. He was honestly an inspiration, and he was very greatly admired and very much so loved. I may not have known him personally, as many fans don't get the chance to know their idols personally, but I am still affected by his loss, as many others are, and I can't imagine how his immediate family, his internal friends, his close loved ones must be feeling during this time, um, and how they must feel at his passing. And some people, they may not understand why fans have such close personal ties to their idols, and I do get that. If you are one of those people, hi. Uh, Please do try to understand where I'm coming from and where other fans around the world may be coming from. And please don't dismiss the idea that fans are going to be feeling a little sad about this situation. Please don't devalue their feelings, because you never know if that will send them over the edge, because they are having very dark thoughts right now and they might be feeling very lost. So please don't devalue their feelings. Um, and these are our feelings to feel, and I hope that people do honestly respect that. I know, among others, we will be sad for a while, and that's okay for all you shawls out there. It's okay for you to feel sad right now. It's a very shocking kind of situation. It's okay to be sad, and it's okay to not be okay. But I feel like this phrase, "it's okay not to be okay," isn't really known, especially in South Korea. Where I am in Canada, it's a lot more common to talk about mental health, and it's a lot more common for people to say, "Hey, you don't have to be all right now. That's fine. I understand that." But specifically in South Korea, I think that from what I've researched and from what I've heard from friends who work there and from friends who um, are in South Korea, there are many factors that lead to this. South Korea is one of the countries, no, it actually is the country that has the highest suicide rate among the OECD, which is the Organization for Economic corporation in developing nations. So this includes countries such as Germany and Japan. It's the only country within this OECD that uh, suicide rates have increased since the 1990s, and on average, 40 people every single day take their lives. So you can imagine how much grief and how much trauma that loved ones of these people are feeling. And not only that, how much people in South Korea who have committed suicide, how much pain and suffering that they have gone through in order to take their own life. So clearly, through just these little statistics, you can see that there's something wrong within this country, be it social, cultural, or institutional. Um, I by no means am an expert on South Korea. Like, I am not Korean. Uh, and, um, I just like to do research on topics that really interest me and like are close to my heart. I've taken a few Korean courses in university now, and I do have friends who are Korean, who live in Korea, who work in Korea, and who are also involved in Korean culture. Um, so everything I'm saying is really coming from a place of articles and journals and research that I've found or from past experiences from my friends. So please do take everything I say with a grain of salt. And I just want to put out some information to open up a conversation. So, um, in light of Kim Jong Hyun's suicide, there have been articles, many articles, that have been, shedding a little spotlight on South Korea's suicide problem, and I feel like that's very great. The more people talk about suicide, the more open the conversation is going to become, the less stigmatized it'll be in society to actually talk about suicide, and the easier that it will become to talk about these kinds of issues. That's wonderful. However, I do feel that in addition to talking about suicide, there also needs to be an emphasis on what will happen next. Um, so once all the mourning is done, I feel like once things start to fade on the issue and people's lives slowly start to reset, so will the recognition of the issues of suicide and how we can help people with mental illnesses and how we can work on fixing things. That's also going to fade as well. Uh, so first and foremost, the conversation is very important, but so is what happens next. So this goes for mental illness conversations and suicide conversations and preventions around the world as well. It's not only South Korea, but I will specifically be talking about South Korea in this video. So there are many societal issues surrounding mental health and depression and suicide, which goes back to the problem of many people committing suicide within South Korea. So those who have mental health issues, they're not really able to um, get certain jobs. That's due to companies asking if a person has depression while in interviews, and most often not, if they say that they do, they won't be getting that job. Often, having a mental illness is like attributed to um, some sort, some form of lacking in a person. It's if a person has um, depression, maybe the company might think that they won't be able to work as well as someone with better mental health. And this, however, creates a cycle where a person might have to hide their mental health issues, and they might not also get treatment as a result of that, in fear of their companies finding out that they do have a mental illness. Um, Within the entertainment industry itself, it's especially bad at giving idols treatment, for those who have mental illnesses. In Korea, society, and especially in the entertainment industry, there's just so much pressure to be the best. So much pressure to be the best, to be the best idol, to make a lot of money so you can pay back the company that supported you, that debuted you, and to be successful. For a lot of these idols, they've trained for 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years, in hopes that they'll debut, and once they do, that pressure to succeed is like ramped up tenfold. If they don't succeed, they'll continue to be in debt towards their company and they have to pay that off. Um, Family members who support them, some go in debt just to support their kids' dreams. And not only that, if they don't succeed, their dreams are crushed, they're ruined, and there's a lot of pressure that comes from that. And like the cycle of training that they have to go through, it just keeps going and going and going until they debut. um Even for the people who do debut and become successful, they have an image to maintain. They have a standard they have to meet, and if they fall flat, oftentimes they're met with terrible unwarranted hate. um And yet, through all that, people have no choice but to act happy, to smile, even if they aren't really okay. It sucks. It sucks so much. And it's terrible. But the competition idols face and trainees have to go through is unfortunate. Um, there are probably a lot of other idols like Junghyun who felt the pressure to have like from this lifestyle, to be the best, to be the most popular, to be the most successful, and to maintain that. And that's such a scary thought to have. Like, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine having that kind of pressure to deal with. Um, it's very much a dog eat dog world, and it's not only in the entertainment world in South Korea as well, but it's also within the workforce and within the educational system. South Korea is known for its high stress professional and educational environments. Um, Due to this, people who may not be as successful can use unhealthy coping mechanisms in order to, deal with this kind of stress. So people might start drinking a lot, or they might start smoking cigarettes to relieve that stress. Alcoholism is a big problem in South Korea. It's not only attributed towards the drinking culture, but I feel it's also towards this kind of stress that society as a whole brings towards that. And, in the worst cases, people do turn towards suicide as a mean of solving these troubles. And this idea of suicide being an answer to their problems is also an issue. Um, there's almost like this glamorization of suicide in a way, since like through movies and TV shows, a lot of the time suicide is seen as the answer in South Korea. Um, Not only that, a lot of the times these suicides are publicized, and they're done so, in like a high profile kind of state. So through celebrities, and not only that, but like even a former president, he committed suicide during a scandal. So these prominent deaths could actually be, perpetuating suicide within the country. um what I know personally, there isn't much of an emphasis on treating a person, for mental illnesses and depression. It's more of a get over it type situation. um people with mental illnesses are often seemed like, this is in general as well, are often seemed as like shameful and weak, which I know personally that is not the case at all. um, People who do have mental illnesses are some of the strongest people, if not, yeah, they're some of the strongest people, if not the strongest people I have ever met in my life, and I have ever gotten the pleasure of knowing in my life. The fact that they're able to live with this kind of deep amount of pain and suffering, and are not succumbing to their illness, that is nothing to be ashamed of. The fact that you're fighting is nothing to be ashamed of. These people are doing well. They have done well so far. And to anyone who is watching this who may be suffering from depression, no, you are not weak, and you are not alone. If anything, I'm here for you. Um, just please know you're not alone. Um, in South Korea, also those who do get help with their mental illness, they're also faced with a lack of resources to help combat that. Kennie JD puts it beautifully in her video. Um, but basically, she says that there is a lack of resources and a lack of staff who are able to treat mental illnesses and depression within South Korea. Not only that, there's a lack of funding. Um, so they do have a mental health act in place in Korea, and it was revised this year of, I believe, March 2017. But the only changes were that someone can be involuntarily institutionalized. So they can go, someone can be institutionalized against their will if there is like a need for it. Um, but the Mental Health Act also covers policy and planning, basically outlining where the funding is going to go, the organization of services to help aid in mental health, the improvements that these services can make, and a list of medicines that are present and can be used towards mental illness, among other things. The list is very long. But again, Kennie JD does a good job of explaining this in a short manner. But what I can tell from her video and from my own research is that there is a clear need for a better investment in mental health and in the welfare of those suffering with mental illness. And not only that, but also people who receive this treatment need to be able to tell these services, yes, I got this, but also this is how you can do better. So there's a lack of that. Um, so, and without like having these people's voice heard, those who are suffering from mental illness, they might not be getting the kind of quality healthcare that they need. So, knowing all of this, I've been rambling on for like 20 minutes. Uh, what needs to happen next? I'm just some girl on the internet. I know that my opinion might not be taken into consideration because I'm not from South Korea. I'm not Korean. But that shouldn't really matter. Like, I care about this issue, and others who care about this issue should have their voice heard. So clearly, there needs to be action. Um, Action that needs to take place in order for the issues outlined in this video to be addressed. Funding needs to be allocated to the right places. Definitely services need to have the right number of staff to help with the influx of patients who have mental illness, so that there aren't psychiatrists burning out, and there's going to be a lack of them. um, you know there needs to maybe be better emphasis in universities and in programs that we need more people who do specialize in treating mental health. Um, People need to stop dismissing the idea of mental illness and that people can simply get over it. It's not shameful. People aren't weak just because they have a mental illness. People should be free to be interviewed for a company and not have to disclose if they have a mental illness, or if they do disclose it, that they shouldn't be penalized for it. Better coping mechanisms need to be set in place. Alcoholism needs to be addressed. That's a whole different video. um, People need to know that it's okay not to be okay. Success is relative to a person, and it shouldn't have to be determined by grades or by the kind of job you have. Most importantly, supporting a person, I know, and giving a person hugs and kisses doesn't always work when they have depression. I know firsthand that sometimes, a person's thoughts can be dark, and that things can be painful. But no matter what anyone has experienced, no one should feel alone. No one is truly alone. We all feel pain in the same way as humans, and we all hurt. So this should not be dismissed or belittled by anyone. Yeah, I'm gonna end things off here. If you found this video informative, please do share. I linked Kenny's video down in the description bar. She puts it in a lot better terms than I do. I really just wanted to make this video to maybe help someone out, maybe help people understand the situation, to give my own input on these kinds of things. And if this is the first video on the C Notions channel, I don't want to say I'm sorry for it, because this video was going to happen eventually, probably just not as soon as it did, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and I hope it sheds some light on the issues surrounding mental health, mental illness, and depression in South Korea. I'll be making more videos to share my notions of certain things in society, Canadian society, in South Korean society. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you all have a good day or a good night, depending where you are. Bye.